Heads to the streets of the Windy City. We break down our best bets and DFS tiers tonight for the Chicago street race on the Backroad.
It's a non-points race, but it is a short race. Checker flag. That's all this race is.
Two from the streets.
Good evening, one and all, to the Backroad. It's In Between Media's NASCAR betting and fantasy NASCAR show. And Seth, you said it. For the first time in the modern era of NASCAR, we are headed to a street course in Chicago, Illinois. We've been talking up this one for a while, looking forward to it, and it is going to be a fun race. It's finally here, finally time to analyze and watch this race. My name's Elliot Hicks. We got Seth Woolcock here, and our special guest tonight is our guy Chris from the Flag Hunting Podcast. Good to have you, man. How are you guys doing tonight?
Oh, I am jazzed up, guys. Happy 4th to everyone. Like I will say, 1776, we did it fucking right. The
As
British
Ricky Stenhouse said, we are the champs.
Yeah, absolutely. Like the British, you seem like great people, but we whooped your ass. I'm happy to be here on the 4th of July weekend. Chris, thank you for joining us, man. How are you doing tonight, our friend?
Listen, it's a good night to be here. We're coming off a week where we hit Ross Chastain at flag hunting, so we got extra cash in the pocket for the 4th of July weekend. We got the Busch Light Peach here in the background. It is time to vibe, boys. It is time to vibe.
Yes, sir.
Well, let's not hesitate any longer. Let's get the vibes rolling and look back in the rear view at Nashville.
Hey, Michael, it was only 20% chance of rain. I think we got all 20.
I hit the wrong drop. I did.
As much as we love to hear our good old friend Ray Dunlap's voice there, that's the next segment. Seth, you want to play the drop, or you just want to roll right into our?
No, we'll roll right in.
All right. Here we go. So in the rear view was the Nashville Superspeedway. NBC's half of the schedule gets rolling. Summertime really kicks off. That really makes me feel like we are ready to go. And we got another new winner crossed off. Ross Chastain finally gets it done in a traditional oval. Some really good racing all around. Some good battles for the lead. And the number one car, we got another melon smash. Chastain gets the win. Chris, you said you guys hit the outright. It was one of the outrights I was big on. I didn't lay any money down on it. But hey, technically on paper, or not on paper, but in theoretical sense, we had the outright again last week, Seth, even if we didn't make money on it, yeah?
Yeah, and you did shout out Ross Chastain, so shout out to you. And I will say, like, it was one of those weeks where we made the right bets. I was on Truex outright. We were on Hamlin outright. We felt very strong about those guys. Cashed some top 5 tickets. Big whiff, big swing and a miss on Michael McDowell. Wanted to get a little crazy there. He was dog shit.
He picked him a week early, I think so.
Yeah. But hey, AJ Allmendinger, we threw a top 10 ticket on him. That was nice. He came to fruition, but Truex is a dog. Getting like I loved on those restarts how he would drive in so deep on the bottom, make it 3 wide. Still hard as fuck to pass. Like, don't get me wrong, still hard as fuck to pass, but really cool race. I was glad to have a Sunday nighter. Vibes are high. We went down about a unit, on my card, but overall, that's the price we pay here. So, Chris, overall, good weekend for you, man.
Oh, fantastic weekend. So, over at flag hunting, when we hit big because most of our units lay heavy towards outrights. So we were plus 29 units on the weekend, thanks to Ross Chastain. We also went 4 for 5 on matchups. One of them had no business winning, but Bubba over Bowman, Hamlin over Elliot, Dinger over Keselowski, and then Harvick over Reddick, which probably had no business winning. But, hey, we won money on it, so it is what it is.
All that matters.
Yeah, and I will say fuck Eric Almirola. I'm back on that train. I've been back and forth all year. Dude was in the top 15 most of the race. We lost that matchup to Austin Dillon out of all fucking people. So a little bit upset with Almirola. A little bit upset with the British as well. Trash sandwiches, we appreciate you in the chat. Yeah, I mean, I'm just saying, man, 1776. We won it once. We'll do it again. Yeah, anything else here on Nashville for you, though, Elliot? Because I think, great race, overall happy weekend, but we could have done better.
Could have done better, but hey, we can come out with some net positives here. Even down 1 unit is still not all that bad, all things considered. You mentioned about fuck Eric Almirola. I think we're starting to get toward the do not touch. Well, not getting toward because I did say it last week, but do not touch Chase Briscoe. I think we're fully on that train.
Oh,
If
yeah.
we weren't already. That car is basically full at this point. I mean, there have just been some times this year where that 14 car is running on, barely on pace with the Rick Ware cars. I looked down in the leaderboard in the first 50 laps of the race. He's running 33rd. What the hell, Briscoe? And that's, I mentioned this a little bit last week, and I'm jumping ahead a bit. Kevin Harvick is really carrying Stuart Haas, and I'm kind of worried for those boys next year. But next year is next year. Instead, we'll look ahead here. Now we'll look ahead to the horizon forecast. Seth, if you want to play the drop again, you can. If not, we can roll right into it.
I'll play the correct one this time.
Here we go.
Hey, Michael, it was only 20% chance of rain. I think we got all 20.
Thanks again to Ray Dunlap. All right, so looking ahead, it is the first street course race for the Cup Series. They're in Chicago, Illinois. They've already got the course set up and everything. They had it set up all last week. Everyone's coming in. Air quality is kind of crappy in the northern United States right now, but hey, we are still rolling with it for sure. Seth, you got some stats here on this track. Teach these viewers what this is because, oftentimes with tracks, they sit there for the same time. They're built a certain way. They stay a certain way. Sometimes with Charlotte, you have a little Rover built in there. Daytona's got the same thing. This was built totally from scratch. It's a street course. Us NASCAR guys, we're not used to this. Tell us a little bit about this track.
Yeah, so we're going to bring up the map here to tell us a little bit more than I can offhand. But it's a 2.2 mile track, 12 turns is what we're going, and it's in the middle of Grant Park, one of the trademark places in Chicago. Got the skyscrapers in the distance, Great Lake, Michigan right there. Chris, you're a Southern boy. Have you seen any of the Great Lakes so far?
Negative. Have not.
They're like fucking oceans, man. They're like fucking oceans. You can't see
come up
the
here
other
to
side of them.
Pennsylvania for Lake Erie. It's pretty nice up there.
Yeah, absolutely. So overall, it's going to be a great vibes. And I hope NASCAR fans just realize how cool of an opportunity this is. I know for betting, handicapping purposes, it can be a little more difficult at these types of functions. However, it's really, really cool. So let's enjoy it. But yeah, I think turn one is the big takeaway here. You see the restart line there a little bit. So they will be, it's not going to be a coda. It's not going to be a coda where it's going to be everyone flying in, but I don't think it's also going to be a Sonoma where it's super graceful at the beginning either. So I think it's kind of a mesh of the two. We're really going to be looking at those 2023 speed rankings finishes from these first two road courses. We'll also be looking at all the road courses from 2022, all the statistics. We're getting a lot of this from iFantasy Race, of course, his total speed rankings, and then looking back at all the top 10 numbers to average running position, those types of figures. So, Chris, is there anything when you look at this map that you say, wow, that is interesting, or anything as a handicapper you can take away from it other than it being just sweet as hell?
It is a cool layout. I'll give them that. But from a racing standpoint, I'm a little nervous that this is going to be a little bit of a shit show. I guess we'll see what's going to actually happen. But I think as Rory said, right. But I mean, there's just so many different components to this track, right? Not only that, but we have concrete to asphalt back to concrete. So we got multiple different surfaces going on here. We don't have any turtles or runoffs. It's just walls and tires. So you don't have there is no ability to if you ever run a corner or anything like that, you're just kind of up the creek. You're going to a wall. You're going to a tire barrier. I put this in here as a joke in my notes, but I just think it's so funny the fact that we're kind of replacing turtles with manhole covers because there's actual, these are real streets, right?
Yeah.
So there's literal manhole covers out here on these roads that they're going to act as bumps. You've got paint that's going to act as whether it's slick or more grip. I mean, there's just so many different factors in this track. I don't know how you can possibly comp this to any other road course. So I kind of did something similar to you. I'm just looking at road courses as a whole. And then I did bring in one extra stat into my model this week. I'm looking at because we've been to a lot of new road courses over the last 3 or 4 years. Mm-hmm. So I went back and looked at the average qualifying, the finishing position, and the total speed metric when we went to the first time at a new road course.
I like that.
So I'll be bringing some of those metrics up as we kind of talk through it. But something I kind of wanted to bring in of hey, it's a brand new course. What does it look like when we come to a new course like this?
Elliot, when you're looking at this, are you expecting a lot of tire fall off? Because I am not just what I'm hearing on the streets. I don't know why that is, but I'm expecting a little bit less tire fall off, although we are going from different surfaces. Is that factoring into your decision at all here this week?
Not really. I mean, I trust you if that's what you're hearing, that the tire fall off is not going to be a big deal. I feel like we would hear more about that And I mean, I totally get looking at the other road course comps. It's the best thing we can do, but this really is an uncomparable track. About the only similarity to this track and the other road courses is that you make left and right. You know, there's no turtles here. There's no 7-lane corners like you have at Coda. This is going to be about the tightest surfaces that you're on. I mean, I'm sure Martinsville even has more racing lanes than some of these turns will. So that's going to be really interesting. Shit show is what I'm leaning toward as well. You know, surprise winner is what I'm looking at, but it also would not surprise me if, you know, a traditional winner comes out of it. It will be fun to watch. Will we ever do it again? I don't know. That's part of what makes it so special. On the track, there will be shit show elements. Off the track, everybody will be fine. There's a lot of overreaction in some of this NASCAR community of actually going to a big city like Chicago.
Yeah.
You'll be fine. Everybody's going to be okay if you're going to the race. You're going to have a great time. You may not enjoy the racing, but you'll be all right there. It'll be a fun experience, and it's good that this is happening with NASCAR. Even if this is a one and done, it opens the door either to do more street courses in other cities that are willing, or to say this was a fucking disaster and we don't want to do it again. Either way, we'll know, and it's really cool that we're giving it a try.
I think innovation is the word that comes to mind here, boys. Is like we are looking for innovation in this sport, and I feel grateful and thankful that NASCAR is at least trying to innovate a sport that we love. And obviously, I know there's a whole other generation that probably doesn't want to see this happen. However, as a gambler,
the future is now, old man, is what I say to that.
Yes. And as a gambler, yes, could it be chaotic? Could we see our betting slips go up in smoke? Absolutely, we could. But the books are at as much of a disadvantage as we are this weekend. I think that's something we need to keep in mind, Chris.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. And and I've seen a lot of people on Twitter saying, it could be a shit show or it could be a really strung out, not able to pass kind of race too. But both of those can be true, right? If we can have a race that's really strung out, but as long as we don't get any cautions, maybe it won't be a shit show.
Right. You can have shit show elements too, like the race is running relatively cleanly. Somebody misses a turn, whacks the tire barrier, can't move, and then you create some shit show elements from that.
Yep, exactly.
I'm really hoping they got a good wall between, you see turn 1 and turn 6 there. Somebody loses their brakes, head into 6. I hope there's a good sturdy wall there. They don't come out into turn 1 and create more chaos. I'm sure there is. That's one of the things that stood out to me turning around here. It's like, wow, this is really close together on the map.
And one thing we did mention too, I can't remember if it's turn 4 or turn 5. I think it's turn 5 just from looking at this map. But it actually goes from 4 lanes to 2 lanes. So it gets even narrower through there. I watched some of the iRacing, like the professional iRacing league the other night. They raced there. I was watching a few laps, and it gets really, really tight through there. So that's an interesting turn to kind of look out for.
Yeah, awesome. And I think bottom line here as well, gentlemen, like the one thing we can bring all this data to the table, but at some point I am also relying on these guys to be dogs. Like there is a certain element to guys like AJ Allmendinger, Kyle Busch, Kyle Larson, guys who can drive and aren't intimidated by different situations in a NASCAR. So I'm looking forward to that. Let's go ahead, boys. Let's break this down in some tire tiers and talk about DFS a little bit. How about it?
Let's do it.
And as we do get a little more driver specific, of course, guys like Allmendinger, McDowell that you mentioned, not just that they're more comfortable with different situations, they've got experience in cars like this on more street course type of styles, which is going to be neat. But all right, as we look at the tiers here, some driver changes. We were going to have Jimmy Johnson in this race. Unfortunately, not going to happen. Best wishes to his family and in-laws there. So no Jimmy this week. The additional entry is Shane Van Gisbergen, an Australian V8 Supercars racer in the Project 91 car for Trackhouse. And then a couple ringers. You got Jensen Button back in the 15 car. Andy Lally's in the 51 for Rick Ware. And then our guy Josh Balicki, he's more of a road course specialist as well in that 78 for BJ McLeod. All right, folks, where do we want to start off here in the driver race?
Chris, take it away, our friend.
I mean, I feel like I have to go. I'm the Tyler Reddick stan, so I'm going to start with Tyler Reddick, right? The road course ringer. Seth, last time I was here, I think you guys had Chris on that week, but you came on with us, and
Correct,
you were all over Reddick for Coda, and you were right on. And it is not the car, it is the driver, and he belongs here.
I'm surprised Reddick is not the DraftKings favorite in salary. You have Larson at 10.6, Truex 10.4, Chase 10.3, Reddick at 10.1. So dare I say you get a little value here with this A pick, which is shocking to say with how good Reddick has been on road courses.
Yeah. I mean, I'm off him just because of more recent performance, if anything, Chris. And it feels like something is always going wrong for that team right now. However, I totally understand the call. This guy is one of the most talented drivers. And he everything I've seen out of the Tyler Reddick camp this week, like he is all smiles. Like it seems like he's really enjoying this as well. So, Elliot, up to you, man. Who's driver number 2 for you?
Well, for me, this is going to be a first and probably a last because I've never had this guy ranked this highly, and I probably never will again, even on other road courses. I'm putting AJ Allmendinger in the driver A's here. Dinger's at a decent price at $9,900. Of course, 5th favorite, but it's not too bad. I'm expecting chaos. I'm expecting shit show, and I'm expecting guys who know what they're doing at this to do well. So that puts Dinger toward the front, as we've already talked about. There's also the fact that he's on a hot streak. If this were normal, the way Kaulig had been running early in the year, I'm not even considering putting him in the A's, maybe in the B's, even though he's got that road course specialty. But he's on a hot streak. They've had a couple top 10s. They've been running better. Even the 31s are running a little better. But the 16 car, going to be up at the front, and is going to be a driver A pick for perhaps the last time for me all season, but I think he's worth it this week.
2 straight top 10s and 4 straight top 15s for AJ Allmendinger. That's only one road course in there as well, folks. So he has been good on ovals as well recently. I think Dinger is the correct call. And as you said that earlier, Elliot, this guy has raced here in IndyCar and some other not here, excuse me, but like
at other street courses.
Yes. So he has a little, albeit I will say the finishes are not great. He did not have much success in those, but anyways, he has some laps in street races. So
track time that matters.
Yeah, I like both those calls, boys, but I think we're missing the odds-on favorite here. Let's go Chase Elliott. Throw him up on the board there, Elliott. 6-1, and I think there's a reason. He's back, man. Like Chase Elliott is finally back. 2 straight top 5s for the guy. And since 2022, he's been the ringer still. Like maybe the wins haven't been there necessarily, but number 1 in top 5s on road courses. He has 4 of them. Number 1 in average running position. Driver rating, number 1 as well. I'll talk about him a little bit more because I also like him in the betting portion of the show. But overall, man, I don't think you can go wrong with the number 9 car. It's getting late. It's getting late in the season. He's got to pull one out, and I think this is as good of a chance as he has here. So throw NASCAR's most popular driver up on there. And Chris, back to you.
Yeah, it's crazy that I'm going to be picking this driver because I think that if we were looking, like if we were flash forward and looking in the future and we're looking at this, 2 months ago, you guys would be like, what the hell? Why are you picking this driver? But I think Toyota's figured it out, and Martin Truex seems to be a force at the road courses. I know Sonoma is a little bit of an interesting case because he was good at Sonoma even before the next gen car. So it's still pretty interesting to see how he's going to fare this week. But hey, you can't argue with what the stats say so far. He's number 3 in driver rating so far at the road courses this year. Number 4 in driver rating, number 1 in loop data stats. I pull out certain loop data stats that I think are important. He's number 1 in those. So yeah, I think Truex is going to be a good pick this weekend. I'm a little worried about his qualifying though. That's a thing I'm going to be bringing up in a little bit. I have a qualifying model that I put real quick together. He hasn't qualified the best at road courses this year, so we'll see how that turns out.
Hey, that helps you in DFS though. Get some differential points at a high salary.
What's up, Connor? Appreciate you, man. Yeah, I like the number 19, man. He's someone that, we have been riding that wave, and it's been a very profitable one the last 2 months, really. So I love that call there. Elliot, where are you going here as we round out driver A's?
All right, so I was initially going to go hot take because I was expecting somebody else to be off the board. I looked at the stats a little bit. I molded over for those couple of seconds. We were talking about Truex. I went with the hot take with Allmendinger, I feel like, which, even though not a hot take at a road course, pretty hot take to put him as the number 2 overall. I'm going to go with a guy who, as I pulled up this iFantasy race sheet here, shout out to all the work that they do. Road course stats since 2022. There have been 8 road course races. This guy has not won a road course race, but he did win a race last year. I'm going to throw Chris Buescher in the driver A's here.
Ooh, okay.
Looking at the odds, along with the fact that I'm expecting complete chaos, Ford has not run the best this year, but RFK has been moving forward a little bit. If I'm expecting chaos, then I'm picking up some of these good Ford odds, as I'll talk to you about later. Chris Buescher doesn't have a win on a road course in the next gen car. Doesn't have a win at all. 8.3 average finish is the best in the series. He's got 2 top 5s. He's finished top 10 in 7 of those 8 road course races. Average running position is only around 14th, but it's a good enough driver rating. And like I said, my formula this week, road course success plus the recent success plus absolute chaos factor, 17 car right here. Again, probably the highest I'll have him ranked all year, but that's what this is for. Chicago street course, we are going different.
Yeah, no, I like the call there, Elliot. I'm gonna go back to the Chevy camp. Let's double dip. Let's put both the Trackhouse boys up there. Ross coming off a win. He's a road course guy. We've seen it. He's not afraid to get dicey here at some new tracks. So I'm looking forward to that. But Daniel Suarez, he's the one I'll be targeting this week, 8,900. And I don't think it's going to be as chalky as in the past when Suarez comes to these road courses, because I think people are a little burned right now. Like, the guy's only averaging 23.6 DraftKings points per week right now. However, I think he's undervalued. 3 top 5s in his last 7 road courses, 6th best average running position at road courses since 2022, and 7th in driver rating. So those are like those underlining metrics that I think Daniel Suarez is a lot better than he's proven. And of course, we know what happened last time at Sonoma with the shifter issue. But that's really the one outlier, bringing those averages down even a little bit more. So I like Daniel Suarez here for a little bit of leverage. I don't think he'll be as chalky as in the past.
Yeah, I think Daniel's an interesting one for me because I probably wouldn't have put him in A, but when I'm sitting here digging his stats a little bit deeper, the one thing I do think is going to be really important this week is track position, right? So qualifying is going to be really, really important. And so far in the next gen era, he is 4th. He's ranked 4th in qualifying at the road courses in the next gen era, and then 3rd this year in just 2023. So definitely showing out on Saturdays to get himself up in front come Sunday.
Yeah, it's a great point. I mean, this is a guy, and Chris, maybe you can tell us a little bit more about the market later in the qualifying market, but he might be someone who would maybe be interesting to put a unit on or so to win that, because he has been a lot better in those qualifying laps than I think I expected coming into the season. So we're back to you, Chris. Where do you want to go here? You can throw someone else up in A, or we can move to B.
Yeah, I think I'm on the fence because I wasn't sure where you were going to go with this one or where you were going to go the last one. And when you said Chevy, I thought for sure you're about to pick this guy, but you didn't. But I'm going to talk about Kyle Busch, actually.
Yeah.
Kyle Busch, I think I'm going to pin driver B. I'm going to do the number 1 for driver B here. However, he is 3rd in my model this week, so he is ranked very higher than I thought. And I did bring up earlier that the model I put together for the first time at a new road course, Kyle Busch actually ranks 2nd when it comes to driving at a new road course. So, we talk about Joey Logano all the time as being the specialist when it comes to a new race, but Kyle has kind of made him name for himself at the road courses. And he's in that 8 car. The 8 car last year, we know a lot had to do with Reddick, but they've got the setups right this year. It seems like they've been pretty fast. He's finished 2nd at both road courses this year. So I know one was a little chaotic, a little bit at Coda, but still, it speaks a lot for what they're doing over there. And I think Kyle Busch is a good kind of sleeper under the radar, like not quite a ringer, but could be really good for your DFS lineups.
Awesome. And we have a question here from Connor. He says he's new to NASCAR DFS. Is building a balanced lineup viable, or do you need to have the winner? Two things to note here, Connor. The one is you are going to get dominator points if you have that driver who is leading a lot of laps and potentially wins the race. So you do want to have one of those top dogs a lot of the time that you think you can go with. This is a little bit different of a race, though. There are going to be some wild cards. There are some guys kind of towards the middle that you want to build around. The Chris Buschers of the world. We'll talk about Joey Logano later on, Michael McDowell. So I think that you can pay down a little bit from this top tier. Chris, anything you want to add, or Elliot, to this as well? The other thing you need to keep in mind here, Connor, if you're new, you want drivers who might not qualify as well sometimes, because you'll get some differential points as well. Any other first-time advice here for Connor?
I don't know if this is good advice, but this is a way that I would build a lineup or two. Is, of course, you got to factor in under the salary cap. Pick a couple of A's if you need to, and then go with a couple of these C's or D's that we put in here. Yeah, because this is a week where I wouldn't say you quite look at it with the same amount of chaos as a super speedway. Your Daytona, Talladega, Atlanta. You're definitely gonna have some sort of chaos. You're gonna have at least one big wreck that takes out at least 2 or 3 big contenders, usually guys who would have a chance at the win. You can get just as many points from a guy. Let's say, Van Gisbergen's got a high salary here. Let's dip down to like an Eric Jones in the 6,000 tier. It's decent enough equipment. He's a decent enough driver that if you pair him with the guys who finish, 2nd, 5th, and 7th, and you get a nice 12th out of him at a lower salary, that's going to help you on it.
Yeah, you got to take your shots in NASCAR DFS, in my opinion. Every week I'm looking for leverage plays down towards the bottom of the board. Last week it was Michael McDowell, didn't really come through for me, but the lineup side AJ Allmendinger in, which he was very low price last week. It really came to fruition. So Elliot, back to you now. Love the Kyle Busch call. We're still in this driver B range.
Yeah, I think this guy fits in well as a B. Another probably season high for me. I'm sticking with the hot takes here. I'm sticking away from the favorites because I feel like I talk about the favorites every week. Honest to God, even sometimes, Seth, you yourself, and the guests we have on, whether it's Rod or someone as knowledgeable as Chris, they got the notes on some of these other guys, and I just take the big guys who are like, okay, this guy's good. He's normally good. I think he'll be good here. I've gone against the grain, and I'm going to continue to go against the grain with this 34 car Michael McDowell. Again, not as against the grain as it normally would be. He's a good road course racer. He's gotten better the last couple of years in the front row cars. On this chart here, where Chris Buescher was ranked number 1 in the total, or in the average finish, and a couple other stats for the road course, and McDowell was third on that list, 10.5 average finish. He's been top 15 in 7 of those 8 road courses with 10 top 5s, average running position in the top 10, and a good driver rating as well. McDowell, another guy who's had experience in different disciplines of racing,
Yes,
which I think is another big factor this week.
Yeah, I think if you want to roll with a Ford, I think it's Michael McDowell here this week for me, him or Buescher. So I really like the call there, Elliot. Man, I feel like we almost entered another little bit of a tier break, to be honest, boys. Like those were my favorite 8-9 drivers in this field. However, rolling down a little bit, well, I throw Kyle Larson up there as well. Yeah. He hasn't been mentioned yet. I think he needs to go here.
He's what I was considering before I went with Buescher and McDowell. The stats not quite as good underlying in terms of the average finish. I mean, he's had some troubles in some races, but we know Larson's talented on the road courses. So I really him being a B+.
I think that's the bottom line here is we've had the argument the last couple of weeks. Is Kyle Larson a clutch driver? I'm not so sure about it. And the underlying metrics are not doing too well for me either, but he does belong in that B tier. Let's go ahead. Let's throw William Byron up here. Guy's been blazing fast sometimes. And it's crazy because he was the fastest car at Coda. Sonoma, not really. We tried to bet on him there. We tried to throw a little bit of juice on that top 10. Didn't come to fruition. But I think he's getting his feet back under him here. I think he's going to have speed off the truck. So that it's more the car than the driver. I know Chris, likes Reddick because of the driver, but this is more the car thing for me here. Want to bring up this question here. Where do you guys want to go with Austin Dillon? Let's skip down here. Chris, where would you throw AD here? I think he probably belongs in that. Man, I would say either D or F tier. Like I'm not anything I'm looking at Austin Dillon this week is not good.
Yeah, I just highlighted his name on my sheet here to kind of see what I could even bring up. But there's not a lot of good things to bring up. No. So he ranks 21st in my model, so I would probably stick him in the Ds. But that would be like the lower part of the Ds for me. Because really the only thing
right about here in the D's probably.
Yeah. Really the only thing he's got going for him, like I think the best metric I'm seeing here is he's been 17th at total speed on the road courses in 2023. So take that for what you will. I wouldn't be putting a lot of stock in Austin Dillon. I also did want to go back real quick, if you don't mind, just to the DFS question. I had 2 other points to bring about DFS. This is not a secret to DFS of any sort, but it's always good to save a little bit of room in your budget. Like, don't just play your full allotted budget. Save a little bit because that's going to differ your lineup from so many other people. And that's the next kind of leads right into the next point, right? Is don't just pick all these consensus road ringers because everybody else is going to pick consensus road ringers. Try to get some guys in there going to differentiate your lineup from other lineups. So sorry, real quick, I just want to throw that in there.
No, I love it. Backtracking real quick on Austin Dillon here. He does have 2 top 10s in his last set, 8 road course appearances, 5 top 20. So he's a very middle of the road guy. I don't mind if I need an end of the shelf guy. But the price tag is just, I think, the issue for Austin Dillon. What are we looking at here? 5,900. I guess at 5,900, you can do worse than AD this week, probably. So yeah, I'm all right with Austin Dillon. Elliot, to you now, or any thoughts on Austin Dillon?
Yeah, I agree. D- is a good place to put him. Not really looking at any of the metrics. I mean, the chaos factor, you never know. Yeah. Austin Dillon has been the winner of some chaotic races, including one of the more chaotic finishes when they all hit turn 1 in Daytona. Starts to rain, everybody wrecks. Who wins that race? Austin Dillon.
Watch our boy Ross call the outright here. Watch him call the outright. I love it. Chris, back to you, man. Let's climb the ladder with some more B tier drivers.
Yeah, let's go with Alex Bowman here. Let's go to the 48. I'm going to be bringing him up probably a few times when we get to the props. So I might as well just go ahead and throw him up here. I guess my main point, I won't do all my I'll save some of my notes for a little bit, but listen, he's an underrated road courser bird course racer by like a long shot. And you forget that like he was very much in the running to win COTA last year before he got absolutely just sent by Ross.
If you remember that move, okay, and here's Bowman fan glasses on. You remember that move? Chastain bumps Allmendinger.
Yeah.
But if he just bumps Allmendinger and Allmendinger doesn't hit Bowman wins that race running away.
Yeah. And not to mention, right, the biggest point that I love bringing up is, as he's holding up the Busch can, is the fact that Blake Harris, who was the crew chief for Michael McDowell last year, made Michael McDowell into, I mean, I don't know if it's, again, if it's crew chief, setup, driver, what it is, but regardless, they were a team together last year, and they made a killing on road courses. Now Blake Harris is on that 48 pit box. I think it's really important. I think it's the numbers that we're getting on Bowman are just, I don't think there's a lot of guys above him that I don't think should be. So I'm pretty high on Bowman this week, to be honest with you.
Okay. Elliot does not mind that at all. We got trash sandwiches in the chat saying she's going to put an outright bet on Dylan. All right, more power to you.
You maybe him and RC might be the only two who have bets on him, but we'll see.
Yeah, absolutely. Elliot, up to you, man. Who else are you liking for this B tier? It doesn't look as pretty as it did a couple minutes ago.
Yeah, I mean, it's, surprise, Bowman was going to be my pick here because I do like him on the road courses. I agree with all your points, Chris. The one other thing, too, is that 48 is going to start to have a fire under his ass. Out of the playoffs right now because of his own doing with the sprint car thing and the penalties, of course. With how well they've run, they're still close. They can still point their way in. But we know that 48 wants to get back to victory lane. We saw there was even the segment with Allmendinger in Nashville where it looked like he kind of had the fire under his ass, wasn't really taking any crap from that 16. We know he wants to get to victory lane. Is it going to happen in Chicago? Probably not. Is he going to do well enough to warrant a driver B? I agree. So we'll do Rod a solid here, and I'll go away from my pick the wild card just because you can, and I'll go toward pick the consistent guy in Kevin Harvick because somehow Kevin Harvick is going to finish 11th, 10th, 9th without really having a strong day.
Yeah.
Nashville, he was kind of sneaky. We thought he was going to run better, had that flat tire toward the end. But the 4-car, I mean, it's just been week in and week out. Kevin Harvick, doesn't matter the kind of track, doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how bad Stuart Haas is running. The 4-car is going to do all right because it's Harvick. He's going to enjoy getting this street race opportunity before sailing off into the sunset and joining the Fox broadcast booth. And I think he'll come out of it with a good run.
Fair enough. Yeah, Rod's happy somewhere. Rod's happy smiling somewhere out in California watching the whales swim for sure, knowing that you put the number 4 up there for him. Let's go with the driver's C's now. Honestly, I feel like it's gross. I really don't want to play any of these guys already looking at them, but that's where we are. Throw Brad Keselowski up there. I think Brad deserves a little bit of love here. He's coming in pretty, undervalued, 7,200 for a guy averaging almost 33 DraftKings points per week. We know Buescher is going to be fast. Brad has been spotty at these tracks at times, but I think, I don't know, man. I think he's got to swing for it. So that's a little bit of a gut call for Brad there, more than anything. Any thoughts on Keselowski here, Chris, or who would you like to go with as well?
Yeah, I don't really have a lot to say about Brad, but I mean, I will say like the short track package and the road course package are very similar packages, right? And they've run really, really well at the short track. So if that correlates, Brad, could certainly be a very worthy driver C. I'm actually going to go to Christopher Bell here. This is a guy so I was very prepared to come on here and kind of fade Bell, but then I dug into his stats and I was like, man, I can't. Like, I literally cannot fade him. And the fact that Toyota now has figured this out with the road courses, it's scary because Bell was running the best of the Toyotas last year when they were trash, and now they're good, and it's just a matter of time before he makes his way towards the front. I mean, we're talking in the last 8 races, right? With Toyota being so bad at road courses last year, he is still 6th in total speed at the road courses over the last 2 years, or year and a half, whatever it may be. So, he may not win the race, but I think Christopher Bell is very much a guy who can sneak out a backdoor top 10.
I agree. Bell's a good pick here. Probably deserves to be higher rated than this, but that happens oftentimes with Christopher Bell. He just, he's unassumingly has really good runs out there in that 20 car, so I don't mind that pick. I'll go a little untraditional again, at least for road courses, and put Joey Logano here in the tier C's. We talked about this a little bit before the show. He's got a knack for winning at the new tracks. First winner at Bristol Dirt, first winner of the Clash, first winner in St. Louis. maybe he's just got that magic here. He's not typically a great road course guy. It's a 16.6 average finish, only a handful of top 15s even. But I don't know. I got a feeling about the Fords, and I got a little feeling about that 22 car.
Yeah, I think that's where we differ. But I mean, Joey Logano is actually, every time I don't take him at a road course, he usually scores a T10 at plus money. So I will say that, like, you have that going for you, Elliot. I'm going to start shooting my shots here, guys. I'm going to throw a guy that we didn't even have ranked last week, and then he comes out, he gets a top 4 starting position and ends up kind of just backing up, tanking your lineups. Anyways, if you did play him, Justin Haley right now, 13th best average finish on road courses since 2022 in this series. He has 3 top 15s. I don't think he's going to get a top 10 here, but like, there's always a point in the road course races where you look and you're like, oh, Justin Haley, he's like, 12th or something like that. Right now, he's coming in a value at DraftKings 5,800. Like, I'd rather play Justin Haley than Austin Dillon, or a lot of people kind of in that tier. So he's my little sneaky darling down in there this week.
Not to mention he gets to practice on AJ Allmendinger's sims all week, right? So like, you
Yes.
think he's going to learn something. You hope.
He'll have a good setup for sure.
Yeah. All right. Is it me? Is it back
Yeah,
to me now?
you're up.
You're up.
All right. I'm going to throw, I think there's literally only probably 2 guys on here, maybe 3 that I'm willing to play at this point, but I'm going to throw Ty Gibbs in this driver's seat, a guy that was a ringer in the Xfinity series at road courses. He's quietly been actually pretty good this year for a rookie. I mean, I know he's kind of like an asterisk mark rookie because he ran some races last year, but been quietly pretty good. And I've got him showing as 10th in qualifying for the first 2 road courses this year, and also 10th in loop data for the first 2 road courses this year. So another guy that I like in the top 10 market, that, in the DFS world is another guy that is a good, kind of filler guy for your lineup.
Yeah. And Elliot, we still have some big names up here that we haven't even talked about, man. Are you taking any of those here?
I'm going to go in the direction of probably none of these really big guys we're talking about. I do have a double decker here that I'm going to throw in D. Seth, if you feel like you want to jump up to C with some of these bigger names, I'm going to talk about some smaller names for the Ds. Let's throw Austin Cindric in the D tier.
Gross. I'm fading him so hard this week in all the matchups.
That's why he's in the D tier. That he's a guy who it's like, maybe shoot your shot if you want. Not necessarily our favorite pick. Not necessarily our recommended.
8,400 for a guy averaging 16 DraftKings points per week. I'll fucking pass.
That's totally fair. Maybe this is just a bit of Ford bias. Maybe this is still me believing that he can figure it out on the road courses.
Yeah.
Numbers are there that he's had top 10s more often than not.
The talent's there too.
Top 15s. We know the talent's there. We know the equipment is there. Can he put it together?
The supercar experience too.
Right. He's got experience on this kind of stuff. If this was a traditional road course, if we were heading to the Glen this weekend instead of a street course for the first time, I'd probably put Cindric lower D to F. I think he's high D. I considered C, but I think D's okay. And I'll put this guy in D as well. Shane Van Gisbergen making his Cup Series debut in the Project 91 car. If I remember correctly, when this car ran with Kimi Räikkönen at the Glen, which I believe is its only appearance, unless I'm forgetting somebody, he ran all right, ended up getting crashed out. This guy, obviously, there's a big difference nowadays. Back 20 years ago, when you would put your Ron Fellows or your Boris Seds or your road course ringers in, they would have a legit advantage. But there's so many road courses now. The drivers are honestly getting more skilled. They're running more disciplines than they used to. These guys are so good that even these guys who have been out there, they've had the experience on street courses, they've won Formula One World Championships, and they go out and get shit on by guys like Alex Bowman and Michael McDowell and your Chris Buschers, just these guys who they've run other things, but they're not F1 World Champions or dominant Cup champions or anything like that. So it's going to be a tough slog for him. But the equipment is there, the experience is there, the chaos factor is there, and again, just with the street courses, you can practice it on iRacing all you want, but there's going to be moments where there is not going to be any room to make a mistake. You make a mistake at Coda, at Sonoma, at the Glen, you have runoff room, you can get back on track. You make a mistake here, you're right into a tire barrier, your day's done. And I feel like we're not going to see that from this 91, which could help him out in the final finishing order.
Yeah, it's interesting with the number 91. Like, I like the story, I like the vibes that I'm getting. However, I can't play him in DraftKings 7,600 more than Kevin Harvick, Ty Gibbs, Brad. Again, I can't do that. However, on Fan Tracks, you're going to get him for the bare minimum, $5. So I would definitely throw him in the Fan Tracks lineup if you're looking for a dart throw this week. So Don't mind that at all. Just some housekeeping, Elliot. I don't have anything on them, but number 11 and 12, put them in the C tier there.
Yeah, they're deserving just because of Cup experience. And a point that I haven't made yet, that I kind of made with the 91 there, is that with some of these guys, even if the underlying numbers aren't great, new places and just places in general,
and they're great drivers.
Good Cup experience with good drivers is going to help you anywhere.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why you can't fade too many of these veterans right here. Like, and how many times are we going to get to play Denny Hamlin at 8,000, Ryan Blaney at 7,8? Like, you're getting good values on them. So I'm really cool with that. I want to throw a couple more here. I think and see that I think belong. Bubba Wallace, McDonald's headquarters, tinfoil hat, baby. Let's go.
Yeah, but Bubba in the C's, though, with how poorly he runs on road courses basically all the time. That's a bit of a hot take.
Two top 10. Well, you can throw him in the D if you want. You can throw two top 10s in his last 7 road courses. I'll talk more about Bubba later. I'll defend that take a little bit more later. And then put Ricky Stenhouse Jr. Puts Ricky Stenhouse Jr. up there, guys. Like, no, he belongs in the C, man. 12th,
Gotcha.
12th at Sonoma. He was top 10 car at Coda as well. Ricky Stenhouse Jr., 6,600, man. Like, you're getting a value once again on Stenhouse. So I'll ride Stenhouse once again here. I think he's just kind of showing us too. Like, he's a talented driver. I think we never thought that, but I think it's the truth, boys. So yeah. We got Hoove in the chat saying Matt Kenseth, baby. Yeah, we'll love us some Matt Kenseth.
Hey, 2020 in that 42 car. I won't forget. Almost won Indianapolis.
I know.
It would have been a hell of a ride for him to go out.
Connor saying, boys, great show as always. Going to go finish this bottle of bourbon. See you in the winner's circle. We appreciate you hanging out with us tonight, Connor. Chris, back to you, man. Anyone else for the C tiers, D tiers, or just some Fs for you?
Yeah, you really left me the scraps here.
Sorry, I ran through it.
No, I do want to comment, I guess, on some of the ones that we did put up there. I don't really know that I have anything else to put up here, though. But
that's all good. Yeah, go ahead and give us any analysis you like. And, I like to finish out the housekeeping here anyway with some of these shitters. So go right ahead.
So the 91 car, man, I agree with all your points, but the thing is, I fell into this trap with Jordan Taylor, right? It's like he comes in here, he's a ringer, he's got all this practice in all these other cars. You think it's going to be good, and he qualifies good, and you're like, oh, wow, like he might actually be. But the thing is, like, Cup racing is so different, and he's still got to learn pit stops. He's got to learn how to, like, get onto pit road, for one. You got to learn, like, there's just so many different aspects to just learning this new car. And I just worry that if anybody falls in the trap of seeing that he's a world champion and trying to play him, that you're going to get caught with your tail between your legs when he's makes one mistake that's not on track, right? Something off track, and now he's buried in the back.
Again, that's why he's in the D's.
Yeah.
He's got a better car than the other world champions that are in the race, like Jenson Button. So
exactly. And then,
hey, easy. I was gonna make a case for Jenson.
Well, all right, you can after Chris gets done and after I put someone up, then you can make your case for the 15 car.
I'll be real quick with so Bubba, right?
I don't love time, man. We're all good.
I don't love the stats for Bubba. Obviously, they're really, really bad. But if we're gonna play the factor, like Elliot's, Seth saying, with all the other things going on in Chicago, right? Don't forget, like, Jordan, Chicago. This is a big race.
I'm loving it, baby.
You got
right,
Jordan.
That's why his other car is our 101 off the board.
Yeah, exactly. Right. You got the Jordan brand car, right? So yeah, I mean, there's reasons to like. Bubba also apparently had like a free block party last night, and they gave
it was
general admission tickets.
Odds are high.
No, trust me, I love the Bubba Wallace factor. I love that McDonald's is jumping in. They had a little Bubba Wallace meal, get some nuggies and the Grimace shake and all that, whatever. Go for it. They go to chicken nuggets there, the McNuggets. But again, with 2311, it's going to be a big race for them. Go with the guy who has the Jordan brand on the car, who's already won road course races. That's our top consensus guy, not a guy who has not run well at road courses traditionally.
Fair, yeah. And that's pretty much it. I was going to comment on Cindric. I almost considered Cindric. I know, Seth, you're going to absolutely scoff at this. I almost considered for the C's just because, like, if you don't look at this year, last year was really, really good. Like, really, really good.
If you don't look at anything that happened this season, he looks great.
But I mean, I
totally get your point.
At road courses, though, right? Like, he was legitimately like a ringer last year.
Yeah, he was a dog there.
You hope that he and that team can figure it out, and that's what I'm saying. Like, if everyone is fading him and you catch him when he does finally figure it out, it could be a real big difference maker for your lineup.
All righty. Well, Seth, I'll leave your guy on the board here. I'll crack open the Fs to put up a popular name that normally this is a guy we talk about a lot in the Ds to Fs category because they've overperformed this year. The 7 of Corey LaJoie, they've done well. They've done well on ovals. I'm sure he did better than expected last week. I don't have that number in front of me. But with Corey LaJoie on those ovals, sometimes you're getting a better deal. On the road courses, it hasn't been there for Spire. It hasn't been there for LaJoie. Your only effect is going to be that chaos factor. If he can keep the wheels straight and 20 other guys don't, and he ends up in the teens, the 20s. But I'm just not seeing it for LaJoie. So for people who've watched before and you're looking at these lower salaries, he's at 5,700. You're thinking maybe I'll go Corey LaJoie this week. You're probably better off to not do that.
Yeah, we got Hoob in the chat saying his dad used to rent from Matt Kenseth's sister. I'm a town away from his museum, and Matt Kenseth has a museum in Cambridge.
That makes sense.
Okay,
The more you know.
okay.
Yeah.
I
Probably
didn't
a couple of his old cars there,
Okay, yeah, interesting. So I'm gonna go.
DeWalt 17, bring back some memories.
Oh, that was I was a big Matt Kenseth kid. He was like my secondary driver for a long time. All right, throw Eric Jones. I don't know. You guys can tell me D or F, but I will say, guy went out. He got a top 10 last week. I don't know how he did it. He was nowhere the entire race, pulled it out. And Eric Jones has actually been kind of sneaky at some road courses. 2 top 10s in his last 7 outings, 4 top 15s as well. So I think he's someone who can give you a little bit of leverage. No one's dying to play Eric Jones at 6,100. And in Fantrax, you got a lot of these leagues, you have to play drivers so many times. So I got to play him because I haven't played him all season. So throw him in there for me. And then Jenson Button, I kind of like him. Again, maybe not as much in DraftKings, more on Fantrax where I can get him for the minimum. But last time out, man, scored 31 DraftKings points. And this is a guy who I think there's a difference from the Jordan Taylors of the world, from the Shane Vans of the world. Button seems like he actually loves NASCAR. He's trying to get in a full-time ride. It's the number 15. I don't think it's the best equipment for him, but I think he has a floor here. I think Button's probably going to start in the 30s. I think he could finish in the mid-20s. So I think that's going to be enough to get you, somewhere around 17 to 20 DraftKings points. So, give me some Jenson Button this week, boys.
All right, Chris, you got any other thoughts, or should we round this out here?
Yeah, I think we should round it out at this point.
Yeah, this is bad. This is a bad board.
At this point, Seth, if you got any thoughts on these guys, you can go ahead and jump in. But the Stewart Haas guys, the 10 of Almirola, the 14 of Briscoe, the 41 of Preece, we're all hands off, even on most ovals at this point, let alone on a road course. I just don't see the benefit for these guys unless you have complete chaos.
Can we throw Todd Gilliland in?
Yeah,
F?
I was actually just about to say Todd Gilliland's probably deserving. As I was just looking at that too, 16th average finish this year at the road courses. So
yeah,
I was going to make a case for him to get up there. Also, can't make that same case for Harrison Burton. I don't know if they let you bet on first driver to bring on a caution. I got a feeling it's going to be that 21 car this week. Props to him if he gets through a clean race. I just don't see it. But hey, if it won't be the 21 of him, it will probably be the number 42 of Noah Gragson. Legacy just hasn't been any good. Gragson doesn't have the career road course pedigree. Just not feeling it.
I had to throw him in a couple lineups last week that I just had to throw some bare minimum guys. And I was praying the whole race, please don't wreck. Please don't. And he did okay. He did okay. But yeah, that was then. This is now. I'm off.
The only other guy I'd consider touching, maybe these guys here. The 51 of Andy Lally. I thought he was going to do better at Sonoma. I believe he was in the 15. Not a factor at all. I like the guy in the booth. I think they should have him in the booth for every road course race ever. He was awesome when he did it last year. He'll be in the car. I don't think he'll do too well, but you never know. Got the extra road course experience. The good old 2010 Rookie of the Year. These two guys, same as every week. Do we ever put the 77 or 78 on the board? I don't think so, and it's not more.
We have thrown the 78
that's right. Once in a while, you make the case for
Baliki, when JJ,
Yeah, it's never worth it really to put these guys on the board. But hey, we're one of the only shows I feel like talks about every single driver in the field. So you get your takes, you know who to pick, you know who not to pick, and you know that when Joey Logano wins this race, it'll be exactly as everyone expected.
Guys, let's go ahead. Let's shift up gears. Let's get to the betting cards in parking garage props.
Alrighty, so usually our best place to start here is the good old outright market. So let's hear what you guys got.
I'll defer to you guys, honestly. I feel like we're all kind of on the same people, so I'll just kind of pick up the scraps here.
Yeah. Well, hey, the best way to start here on the outrights is with the guy who's got the flag hunting podcast. Who are you looking at to take that flag, Chris?
You know, what's funny is I knew you were going to make that transition, and I actually haven't clicked it outright yet. Because I feel like pricing qualifying is going to be so important that I don't want to invest. You know, the guys that are going to be at the top of the board are going to be probably plus 450, plus 500. I want to save as much as my budget as I can for one of those top guys. So I'm kind of hands off the top of the board. If I had to pick somebody though, it probably is going to be AJ Allmendinger at plus 800. I know he opened at a better price. I missed it. I hate it. I wish that
I have him on Caesars at plus 1,000 from this afternoon, so maybe that number has already moved a bit.
Yeah. I mean, I'm still comfortable, honestly, at plus 800 though. And like I said, I'm just going to bring this up in a little bit, but he's actually a qualifying bet for me too, because so far in 2023, he's ranked second in qualifying. So I expect him to start near the front. He's fourth in total speed over the last 8 road courses, which is the last 2 years in the next gen era, but first in total speed this year at road courses. And you add in the fact that he's the only one with experience in street races. Like everything is very much speaking Dinger's name this week. So it's gonna be a hard press for me to say that we won't be on him in flag hunting come Sunday morning.
Yeah. Right now, I think on Caesars, actually, he's still 10-1 if you want to get him over there. Yeah. But I'm 100% with you, Chris. Everything you said is exactly like you almost had my notes in front of you. But since 2022, he's had top 6 speed rankings in 5 out of the 8 road courses. That includes 4 straight. He's just getting better in this Cup car on him. And this is their shot, boys. This is their shot. They're right kind of a little bit outside looking in of the playoff picture. And this is their shot to get in here. And I think they know that. So yeah, I am down here with the 10-1. I'm also on the 3-1 top 3 as well over at Barstool. So interested in both of those here. Elliot, do you want to shout anyone out before I, talk a little chalk?
I mean, one of the long shots I'm looking at here, I have on my notes the Shane Van Gisbergen, but I think you guys have talked me out of that. Michael McDowell at plus 2,500 to get the win, though. All those things you just said about Dinger, of knowing that this is their shot. They know they can perform here, and they know with the added chaos factor, the most we're going to see on a road course, perhaps even super speedway levels of just absolute nuttiness on this racetrack. 34 car in victory lane would not be the craziest thing in the world.
No, I was on him last week. I think I was a week too early, so now I'm a little burned on him. But he had the speed at Sonoma. He had him and Kyle Busch were the only ones who gave Truex anything at one point in there. So Derek here in the chat saying no outright bets for him either right now. Just 3 head-to-heads in Xfinity. 2 cup bets, top 4. Oh, yeah, I saw the McDowell top 4 there. Top 4, and Elliot, you kind of shouted out the Joey Logano. I don't know if we were even live at that point, but.
Right. Well, I will when we get to the specials. And that's a good point, too. We don't normally talk about Xfinity or trucks or other racing series on here. There are some other shows that do a really good job of that, including Derek's show. Xfinity is going to be really important to watch if you're looking for some of those last-second bets, because we're talking about the chaos factor. It's going to be crazy. It's going to be a shit show. If Xfinity is not a shit show, Cup is absolutely not going to be a shit show at all. So keep an eye on that Xfinity race to add in some extra bets. That will teach us a lot about what's going to happen in the Cup race.
Yep, totally agree with you there. Let's go Chase Elliott, boys. I can't believe no one's really talked about him here. I know 6-1's it's a tight number, but I woke up this week just feeling like I think this is a Chase Elliott week, and all the data has led me there as well. Since 2022, number 1 in top 5s at road course, number 1 in average running position, and number 1 in driver rating as well. 9th overall speed ranking at Sonoma a couple weeks ago, and also number 1 in total speed ranking at road courses since 2022 as well, never outside the top 10. So I like Chase Elliott there. I like him for a top 5 as well, just over even money at plus 105. I think I'm getting him at Barstool. So I like Chase Elliott this week, boys. I think, again, it's getting late for some of these drivers. I think he knows he has to go, and I think there's no better shot than here in Chicago.
Right. You talk about pressure to win. At least Allmendinger and McDowell can point their way in. That's not really an option for Chase Elliott, and it's crazy to think about a guy like him missing the playoffs, but it's a very, very real possibility with less than 10 races in the regular season. He knows he's good on road courses. I'm sure he wants to avoid the chaos of the super speedways, and oftentimes he's seen even his teammates run better on the intermediates. So Chase Elliott, I'm not quite as high on him as you are this week, but again, the pressure's on for him to get into victory lane and clinch his spot in the playoff.
Yeah, I saw the 2 top 5s, and that's really kind of what made me go. 2 top 5s. I was interested in it. Chris, walk us through this pole position prop market here. Who are you liking in qualifying? You guys do a really good job of this. We usually road courses are my time to approach this market. That I like it more than anything. However, I feel really in the dark right now. I just can't cap this.
Yeah, so I took all qualifying from obviously last year and this year. I put that together. I also did bring in that metric I was talking about where the first time at a new road course, I want to see where guys qualify in that aspect as well. So I kind of jumbled that all together, weighted it how I thought it should be weighted. And I'll just throw out you like the top 5 here. So number 1 is actually Tyler Reddick. Number 2 is Chase Elliott. Number 3 is AJ Allmendinger. Number 4 is Kyle Busch. And number 5 is Alex Bowman. So I've actually got 3 qualifying bets from that top 5. I'm going Tyler Reddick, Alex Bowman, and AJ Allmendinger to win the pole. So I know we're not to the specials yet, but since we're already here, I'm talking about qualifying. Might as well throw that out.
Yeah.
The odds you can get on those guys currently. Oh no, I lost my tab. Hang on.
Bowman's have probably got to be pretty high. He normally doesn't qualify super duper well. Come to think of it, I don't even know.
You would think. So Reddick is plus 550. Allmendinger's plus 1,000. Alex Bowman's 33-1. But like I said, Bowman's 5th in my model for qualifying at road courses. So I think that was the biggest discrepancy among anybody. And it's the reason why I'm on him I'll get to that in a minute. But I'm on in top 10 market as well. So
this is why you're one of my favorite guests, Chris. Is we're just out here. We look at some stats, sure. We go off the cuff a little bit. You're here creating freaking formulas of here's who's going to run the best.
Yeah.
And this is how it's going to go. So we certainly love to hear these numbers.
Yeah, and this is the guy who hit a 30-1 on Ryan Preece earlier this season, something like that in the qualifying.
I think it was bigger than that. It was a pretty big qualifying.
Yeah,
I think it was like 40 or 50-1.
Yeah, there you go. There you go, folks. All right, let's go ahead. Let's get into the placement props here. Let's start with any top 5s or top 3s we haven't crossed because I've unloaded my clips on my top 5s and so far today. Chris?
So I've got a few here. So, but we've kind of talked about one of these guys already, so I'll talk about the other 2. So I've got Reddick for a top 3 at plus 190. We've kind of already talked about him, but I mean he's just kind of the road course guy. He's first in average qualifying. I just talked about how I'm betting him. And from a pole bet standpoint, so I know he's gonna be starting towards the front, or at least I think I know he's gonna be starting towards the front. Second in total speed at road courses over the last 8 races, 3rd in total speed just this year, 3rd in the loop data, 4th at first time at a road course. So I mean, everything is just speaking Reddick's language. He ranks number 2 overall for me in this model, so I feel very comfortable even before qualifying placing that top 3 wager there. And the reason why I'm a little heavier on props this week than I normally am pre-practice qualifying, but I am because I feel like at road courses, and you guys have probably seen this too, where when we get practice and qualifying, the books really, really lock it down. Yep. It is hard to find any value. So very comfortable going top 3 on Tyler Reddick, and I'm also going. This one's a little different, but I'm going top 5 on Kyle Busch at plus 185. So I brought him up in the tire tiers about how I liked him just from an underrated standpoint. I just feel like he's very underrated, but he's second ranked for a race first time at a road course. So, like we said with Logano, first time at other courses, but Kyle Busch at road courses seems to get it done. Not to mention, right, second in total speed this year at road courses, first in drive rating this year, second in the loop data. So, like, very, very under the radar at the road courses this year. Top 5 market plus 185. That feels pretty good. Yeah,
I'm with you on Kyle Busch. I didn't have the nuts to throw it down on the top 5 just because there's a little variance here. But I went with the top 10. I laid the juice on him. Minus 136 is which I still thought was a pretty good number for a top 10 here. And like, this is one of the all-time GOATs here. Like, he's not going to be intimidated. And he said he'll wreck your grandma. Well, I'll lay my grandma's house on this one that he's going to get a top 10 here. 5 straight top 10s. Just in general here in the Cup Series, the last 5 races, and then also at road courses, 2 second-place finishes. What more do you want from this guy? So you might talk me into the top 5, Chris, but I am already down on that top 10, and I like Kyle Busch. I even sprinkled a little bit on the outright too, just because I thought 10-1 was a solid number, about a quarter of a unit there. So, Elliot, I want to go to you, man. Anything else in this top 10, top 5 market we haven't looked at yet?
So I've got some Caesars odds boosts on top 3 and top 5. If you're very confident in that the favorites are going to run up front, you're like, this chaos nonsense is out the window. All the guys we normally see on road courses are going to run just as well. You got an odds boost here that for both Allmendinger and Reddick to be in the top 3, Again, probably two of our three favorite drivers. It's a plus 1,200. This one's not quite as fun, but you got Kyle Larson and Ross Chastain. If you think both of them are going to be in the top 5, plus 525. I like the first one better because honestly, you flip both of those numbers, and I feel like that makes more sense. But with just how well Allmendinger and Reddick show up on our sheets here, if they run like they should, even if neither of them win, you're still getting a plus 1,200 on both of them finishing where we expect them to. Some of these odds boosts, I bring them up, and you guys are like, man, I can't get down with that. I like this one more than I like most of them.
The one thing that keeps me away from it is both of these drivers feel like high variance drivers where they might have a good car, but like AJ just doesn't get the finishes at road courses sometimes. And Tyler Reddick, same thing. Like, and I don't know why. I don't know why it happens. Like, they have great cars a lot of time. They're very skilled drivers. So that's why I'm off it. I saw that same thing. I was interested, but I couldn't get down behind that. Chris, these seem like two of your favorite drivers this week. So it sounds like you might be invested in this.
Yeah, I mean, top 3 is tough because, man, that would just suck if you had one of them finishes like 4th, right? Like, it's just like, dang, like if only we had an odd boost on top 5. But
a situation where they're 1, 2, 3 battling for the lead, they both wipe out and end up 24th and 25th, and you're like, damn.
But at the same time, right? You're getting two of our favorite drivers on the show so far at a really good outright price, essentially. So I could be convinced, honestly.
Okay, Chris, anything else in the prop market for you that we haven't touched on?
So I am on Alex Bowman, top 10 as well. I kind of brought that up just simply because I think he's going to qualify well. So I've got him at plus 150 for a top 10. And I've already kind of brought up the fact that, Blake Harris on the pit box. I think that means more than people think. And Bowman, like I said, he's been secretly really good at road courses, 4th in average finish at road courses in his career, 5th in average finish just this year, 5th in average qualifying just this year, 7th in total speed. So, I mean, everything is rating inside the top 10. He actually ranks exactly 10th for me in my model. So to get plus 150 at that early in the week, I feel is a good spot to go ahead and jump on that one.
Okay. All right. I'll round it out here. I don't need to go into detail. I kind of talked about him a little bit earlier, but Daniel Suarez, you can get him plus 130 for a top 10. And I think he's just being undervalued. Those underlining metrics, he's really, really good at road courses, folks. So I'm getting down on him. And again, it's coming down to crunch time. So I am interested in investing in Trackhouse a lot this week, honestly. So let's get out of the prop market. Let's go to groups or head-to-heads. Elliot, I want to go to you first, man. What are you looking at in either groups or head-to-heads that you're wanting to get down on, wanting to get invested in?
So I teased a little earlier during the tire tiers that I wasn't quite as high on Chase Elliott as you guys. There's not a lot of money to be found on these matchups, but it is plus money for two really good drivers facing off against Chase Elliott. You got Larson at plus 105 over Chase and Reddick at plus 100 over Chase. There's not a lot of room for value there, but sometimes in bets you got to eat a little bit of the juice, get the minus 145s or whatever to get plus money on two of the better road course racers. To just so happen to beat another one, as it sounds like they're firing up one of these damn cars outside of my house right now. Sorry about that. But in any case, these are three of the better road course drivers, three of the top 5 to 10 that we expect, I feel like, even though we had Larson a little lower. Still, my gut has him higher than I ranked him. Just wanted to be fun and throw up some fun picks. To get plus money on these guys over a guy like Chase, I totally get if you guys are off of it. I'm just very curiously interested.
I'm okay. I'm okay with it. I it's really tough for me to sometimes bet those in specifically, honestly. Like that's something I try to stay a little bit away from, but I'm all right with it.
I have a couple interesting groups, too, from Caesars. You got Group F over there. William Byron's your favorite at plus 175. Then you have McDowell at plus 185. Chris Buescher is at plus 250. And Christopher Bell at plus 275. Buescher I kind of like here. I can be talked into Bell. And I can be talked into McDowell even more than I can the favorite Byron. The only advantage he has is equipment in my mind.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
Yeah, it's a stay away, I think.
It's a push for me.
Byron is he's better than you think he has been on these road courses, and you match that with the equipment difference too. I don't know. I think Byron's actually kind of a sneaky play this week. I just haven't had the cojones to actually click anything. And can we talk about Byron's pit crew? Like, is it the best pit crew of all time? Like,
dude,
the fact
it's
that
unreal.
The fact that at Nashville, like, he wasn't even in the best like pit spot, but he would come in like 4th or 5th and come out 1st. And it was like, oh my God, like his pit crew is just phenomenal. I mean, like it is just unreal. So I just feel like you cannot count out the 24 team in any aspect right now.
No, you can't at all, Chris. So I'm 100% with you there. I want to go to a little bit of a special that I'm running over there. It's the Fade Austin Cindric special. The books are just setting us up this week, guys. They are setting us up to fade Austin Cindric. First of all, you're getting Daniel Suarez minus 105 versus Austin Cindric on Caesars. It is incredible right now. I've already talked about how much I like Suarez. Cindric, 22nd in total speed rankings at road courses this season. Last 4 road courses, he's only had 19th or better total speed just once. That was at Coda, which is his best road course to date. You can also get Michael McDowell against him. You can also get Ross Chastain, a little heavier juice, I think minus 155. But I took all those other drivers against him right now. We've talked about each one of them individually. We like Ross a little bit. We like McDowell. And going against Cindric just feels unfair. So I'm willing to lay all that juice down. Elliot, how do you feel about fading the two versus some really, really good road course drivers who are still competing this season, unlike Cindric is?
Right. I think that's the key here is the what have you done for me lately? And, a lot of my takes have been, have you been good on road courses before? Do you have the experience in other stuff? But I do think I'm discounting a little bit the what have you done for me lately? And Cindric has not done a whole lot of that. So totally understand being hands off of him, even if I am starting to talk myself into having just the teensiest bit of faith in him performing better than he has this year.
Chris, any thoughts on my fade Austin Cindric special, and where do you want to go with the either head-to-head or the group market here?
So honestly, Seth, we might have a Venmo bet, like just privately for this.
Oh no!
Listen, I'm not trying to say that like Cindric is going to be like he's not going to win the race, but I don't know. There's just something to me that like, what if, right? Like who picked Ryan Blaney to Cook 600 a few weeks ago? Like, what if Cindric all of a sudden this team figures it out? I'm holding hope. I'm holding hope because this is the only time we ever get to play Cindric. It feels like his road courses and super speedways. And like I said, he was just so good. These are the road courses last year that I don't know. Maybe I'm just holding on a little hope. So maybe a little Venmo bet on the privately for us on that one.
Yeah.
I don't really have any. I didn't really like any matchups. If I'm being quite honest with you, I couldn't really talk myself in any groups, but I did just find an error on Bovada. I can actually get winning team. I can get colleague the winning team for better than I can get AJ's single price at. So I am clicking that currently. But they have colleague. They have colleague to win at plus 1100 and Dingers at plus 800 on my book. So
wow,
a little bit of a mistake there.
It's a big win. Yeah. I didn't even think of that. I'm sure that the other books have done it a little better, but maybe they've just ignored that and been like, oh, colleague and Allmendinger, they don't put it together for some reason.
Chris is good at this. Chris is good at finding some errors, especially on Bovada.
You know that error is not going to be there in 24 hours. Maybe even 1 hour.
Not even 12 hours from now.
Chris caused someone to lose their job earlier this season over an Austin Reddick or Tyler Reddick one. So yeah.
However, Ian found that one though. I gotta give Ian credit. He's the one who found that one.
Okay. All right. Your co-host over there at Lane Coin. Elliot, anything else here in head-to-head matchups before we go into the specials market?
I don't have anything else that's good there. I do love that mentality of the what if with Cindric. It's like we connecting to the fan part of our brain, which I do a little too often on this show. But it's the same way I talk myself into Bowman somehow winning every week. What if, man? And it happens, once a year if I'm lucky. But it's just fun to connect the fan part to the betting part a little bit once in a while.
All right. Elliot, throw out the one here I kind of want to talk about in the special market. We got a little bit of a boost cross sports here on Caesars that was a little bit interesting, at least.
Yeah, I did like this one. I got a couple of specials going back to my original roots here, pulling out some weird shit for you. Martin Truex Jr. winning the Chicago race and Max Verstappen winning the Formula One race is a plus 1100 on Caesars. And this one, the NASCAR part's the tough part. Verstappen, it seems like he wins every goddamn week over there in Formula One. Martin Truex winning Chicago, a little harder to talk myself into, but if you believe in the hot hands, Truex has been the hot hand. That's not a bad number to have both of those guys who have won many times this year winning again.
Well, and I think what I like about if I'm playing Martin Truex Jr., which, hey, guilty as charged, I had to get a little bit invested in him. Like, this is the least invested than I've been. But this is how I'm getting invested in Truex because actually that number it was 11-1, and then it jumped up to 12-1 a little bit ago. So I got it at 12-1. Nice. However, this is how I want to play him this week because I think Verstappen is going to win. He's minus 275 over there pretty much across the board. So, and you're getting Truex at what, like 8-1, 7.5 to 1 on a lot of books. So I'll take Verstappen to win. I'll take Truex to win as well. Hottest driver in NASCAR right now. 4 straight top 5s for him. Tied for 4th in total speed rankings at road courses here in 2023 as well. So I saw you put that one down, Elliot. I was interested in that as well. So I'm going to go a little cross examination here, and I'm going to go with that. All right, co-host of at Laying Coin. What did I?
You said Lane Coin. I was trying to correct you, but you moved on. It's okay. We love the Lane Coin boys, but yeah, we're flag hunting.
All right. I'm gonna go with another. Let's go to the manufacturers. I'm gonna go with Chevy -118. It's chalky, I know, but you're getting Chase, you're getting Dinger, you're getting both Trackhouse boys, Larson and Byron, who we've barely talked about all night. So I think you have to. I think you have to ride Chevy here. Chris, can you get invested with them or a different manufacturer as a whole?
No, 100% Chevy. I agree. Like I think it's a little bit of a trust factor with Toyota because I mean, really, the only person I trust is Reddick. Like I told you, I'm still a little.
I trust Truex, so I'm on Truex. But yeah, I get it.
I'm just still a little skeptical about it. So yeah, I would 100% be -18. You said -118. That's actually really not bad at all. I'd consider jumping on that.
Yeah, very happy about that one. Elliot, anything at manufacturers that you like? I know you normally like to throw out a couple late nights here.
Right, I was going to say, don't forget the chaos factor, and my guys at Ford +400, which for an entire manufacturer, +400, pretty neat. Even though
that's what I thought last week, and it fucking bit me.
Hey, but that was a traditional oval. This is a chaotic street course. That's nothing unlike anything we've ever seen. Ford to win the race at +400. You're getting decent drivers in there. And an odds boost on our guy Joey Logano +675 just to be the top Ford. Doesn't even have to win. He can run 15th and just beat all his other Ford guys, and you still get that good number. So obviously Chevy's the favorite here. Obviously you got really good Toyotas. But it could be chaotic. And I like the Fords in that instance to have one of those blue ovals end up at the front when this thing is said and done.
All right. Chris, anything else for us that we haven't covered? Any best bet that you have left? Any crazy value? I have left in the back pocket, but do you have anything we should consider here or just watch as the weekend approaches?
I'm out of bets. That's all I've placed so far. Like I said, I'm heavy in the props, not in the outrights.
Okay.
So I think I'm pretty tapped out. I guess I did want to comment on. I've been talking about the little model I put together for the first time in a road course. I don't think I've revealed who actually was number 1 in that, but it was Kyle Larson. So even though Kyle Larson hasn't he hasn't really shown a lot for us in the next gen era in the road courses, but again, a guy that's an elitist when it comes to being behind the wheel. So I wouldn't be surprised to see him come out and be the top qualifier be number 1 in practice charts come Friday or whatever it is, Friday night, Saturday morning.
Yeah.
So I have zero exposure, so I would be absolutely pissed.
I don't either, but I just think it's an interesting thing to keep an eye on, right?
Larson is the top driver in that model. This is dating back to 21 as well, right? When we had all the new road courses there. Obviously, he's a good driver. Obviously, he's good at road courses. But factoring in that absolutely dominant 2021 season, because we had so much of that data come from that year, because that was the first year we added on. Did we do the Daytona road course that year?
There's Road America and
Road America and Coda
Indy road course.
Indy road course as well.
Yeah,
being the first time there. So again, trust me, Kyle Larson's great. But keep that in mind, though, too. If you're skeptical about Larson with some of the other numbers we've thrown out, keep in mind that it does have a slight bit of bias from one of the more dominant seasons we've seen in the last couple of decades of NASCAR when he ripped out 10 wins and won that title in 2021. All right, Seth, well, I've got one more, too. You go ahead and
let's jump to this question here from a guy, Rick Gill. What's up, Rick? Thanks for making us part of every evening. He says, what do you guys think about Hamlin? Hamlin's been good, man. He's been good as of late. He ran really fast at Sonoma, which we liked. We backed him last week for the top 5 in the outright. Top 5 ended up cashing. So I think if you're betting on Hamlin, I don't think you're looking at all the 2023 stats, and I don't think you're looking at all the 2022 stats because he doesn't rank that high in a lot of my metrics that I'm looking at. But if you're going off recency, you could do a lot worse than Denny Hamlin. And I think he's plus money for a top 10. So if I was going to get invested in Denny Hamlin this week, that's where I think I would go. Plus 120 right now on Barstool. Elliot, any thoughts here for a guy, Rick Gill?
Yeah, I mean, if you believe in Hamlin, you're not really going to get better numbers on him than you are this week, just because the road course pedigree isn't quite there in the same way that we see on the other tracks. So if you're a Hamlin believer, by all means, the numbers just aren't there for us to get really, really high on Hamlin. We had him, I think, in the C's and only as a throw-in because of his veteran experience.
Yeah. Any thoughts for Rick here, Chris?
I think I was just trying to scour the market to see if there's anything that I would play him in, and Elliot, don't kill me, but honestly, a Hamlin over Logano matchup would probably be the only way I can feel comfortable at -125. I think that's probably the only thing that I would probably play.
Where are you finding that? Is that a local, Chris, or is that
Bovada?
Okay, gotcha. All right. Hey, appreciate the question, Rick. Thanks for tuning in tonight, man. Hope you're subscribed. Come back, hang out with us again, dude. Last one I'm going to throw out here. This is my little long shot, quarter of a unit. Bubba Wallace, top Toyota, 16-1.
That's risky.
McDonald's headquarters, baby.
And in the chaos factor there too. If you got Reddick runs into problems or something, you got a chance.
And I think, like, here's the thing. I think Reddick could run up there, and I think it's Truex. You're hoping that something happens to one of those guys, I think, in this bet a little bit. But I think it's the same thing that we talked about earlier. Like, he has to be training on Reddick's sins. Like, he has to be learning things from Tyler Reddick, who is an absolute beast at these courses. So I think Bubba Wallace, it's all kind of coming into him. And, like, 9th in total speed rankings at COTA, and he had a really dog shit car at Sonoma a couple weeks ago, and he wheeled it to a 17th. Like, I think Bubba's getting better at road courses. It's going to be a little bit sporadic, but the block party was bumping. The vibes were high. And, I'm down on Yoder kind of as a whole, but if it's not MTJ this week, I think maybe Bubba could be that top Toyota. So I like him there. Elliot, what do you have here for us? But we got one question in the chat, but go ahead with your final bet as well, please.
Yeah, you can bring up that question here. I just want to bring this one up just because it's one that we always think about and we're never super on it because we have the stage breaks. But stage 1 winner winning the race at +180, stage 2 winner winning the race at +130. Just because we don't see that at plus money that often, it's something that with the stage breaks, there's so much variance there, especially with the pit stops and how things can come out. And you can have a guy win stage 1 and never see the lead again in the race, only losing it on pit road. This, if you're expecting a race with few cautions, if you're expecting chaos to stay away, the top guys run up front, it's really hard to pass. It's worth considering, even though I don't love those numbers. It's worth thinking about.
I think the only reason I'm staying away is because I think we have a 20-lap stage, a 25-lap stage, and then maybe a 50 or 55, I think is how, like it's that last stage is just so long. So I think a lot of shit can kind of transpire in that. So that's why I'm staying away from that. Chris, any thoughts on betting stages here? I haven't been too successful doing this in my betting career, honestly. I usually lose money on these.
Yeah, and it's stage winner to win the race. Is that what you said? Is that what it is?
Yeah, for each stage. Stage 1 is a +180, stage 2 winner +130. You can stack those sports if the guy wins both races.
Right. So I think if you're gonna play this, you're hoping, and actually this might lead right into Derek's question here. You're kind of hoping that it's gonna be not a shit show. Like, you want to be a race that's really spread out, and potentially if we have rain, which Derek is bringing up, I think that actually institutes less passing because everyone's just going to want to stay in a straight line and just get through the race, and they're not going to take too many chances going off course, sliding, all that jazz. So if this race turns into a more like spread out race, then I'm more interested in those stage winner bets. But we just don't know. I mean, I don't know what it's going to look like.
If you think it's going to be chaotic, there's no chance in hell anyone takes this bet. But again, this is a complete unknown. We're expecting chaos. We could have the cleanest Xfinity race we've ever seen, which would lead into the cleanest Cup race we've ever seen. It could happen. But this question here from Derek: how does weather play a factor into your handicapping this weekend? Sitting out, betting Sunday, just doing live. I don't hate the strategy. But that's part of the fun for me is, of course, we got all the good numbers here, but throwing in this undeterminable, uncalculable chaos factor and throwing it into our odds here, we're expecting shit to happen. We're expecting the guy in 4th place to just run into the wall and kill his day at some point. Throwing in that chaos factor means that you are almost handicapping that in, that you're going to see crazy stuff. And having just a nice little downpour that we can race in, put the rain tires on, get the wipers going, get that blinking red light on the back of the car, that just adds into the chaos factor. And that adds in to your shots of seeing some of these crazy numbers, getting some long shot top 10s, seeing Jensen buttoning up in 2nd place, all this crazy stuff. I'm all for it. What do you guys think?
The last time we saw rain in NASCAR, like, rain has not been NASCAR's friend. That's what I'll say. So you are 100% right, Elliot. If we see rain, it could get chaotic, but also by Chris's mind, there's also some logic with what Chris is thinking as well, that if we do see rain, maybe it's just, hey, let's stick to our guns. Let's hit our marks and let's get out of here and live to fight another day. So I don't know. I really haven't. I'll be honest, Derek. Like, I am not factoring in the weather at all because if that happens, then this could all go to hell, honestly. So I'm not factoring it in. I don't think we can really because, Chris, it's either going to be one way or the other. We've seen how rain can just totally ruin a road course or just a race in general. But at the same time, we see in F1 where when rain comes, it's kind of like, hey, let's buckle down the hatches and just get through this.
Yeah, I mean, even more reason to wait until after practice qualifying to place any outrights because what if this just turns into full Monaco where the guy who wins the pole just never loses the lead and stays out front all day, right? So
in that's the case, you take that stage 1, stage 2.
Yeah,
as well.
You stack that one, yeah.
Do we know who in the metric would be number 1 if we were to go to rain?
Oh, like with I don't think that's in jeopardy though because, well, actually I say that.
Well, we're getting a little bit of reports: rain Saturday and Sunday. 50% chance on Sunday. It's looking like, and 40% chance on Saturday.
Let me see if I can find Bob's tweet real quick live. But
my guess would be Truex probably the pole winner. Yeah, that's my guess.
Yeah,
I know Bob is really good about putting out the metric, or at least he was beforehand. But yeah, I mean that's rain could make it nice and orderly, or rain could make it nice and chaotic. And a nice little phrase I'll throw out here is wild card, bitches. We don't really know what this is.
Bottom line here, what I'll say to Derek and everyone else there who's trying to bet, trying to handicap this race, keep your head on a fucking swivel. Keep your head on a fucking, like, you have to be dialed in this weekend. Obviously it's a holiday weekend. I know we're going to be boozing up. I know we're going to be having fun, but we kind of have to keep our head on a fucking swivel and just keep out for things like weather, for other, wild card factors that could be in here. So that's something just to keep in mind, but let's have fun with it as well. Chris, I think you have some info on the metric.
Yeah, so here's the order. It would be Truex 1, Ross 2, Denny 3, Byron 4, Christopher Bell 5, Larson 6, Chase Elliott 7, Kyle Busch 8, Brad Keselowski 9, and AJ Allmendinger 10.
Okay.
So
good to know. That still puts a lot of our favorites in a good spot. Dinger 10th. I think he can get up to the front. Fingers crossed the rain stays away for sure. But hey, wild cards. We're expecting lots of them.
Absolutely. Well, guys, it has been a great show. Thank you to the chat for being so interactive tonight. We appreciate all the questions and comments coming our way. If you guys are new to the channel, please give us a thumbs up, hit subscribe as well, ring the bell, come back and hang out with us again. We're here live every Thursday night. We also have our PGA betting and DFS show on Tuesday nights and our fantasy football podcast on Tuesday nights as well. Chris, tell us where we can find you, man, how we can best support you and Ian over there at Flag Hunting.
Yeah, so we record on Tuesday nights, but we release the golf show on Wednesday mornings, the NASCAR show on either Thursday or Friday mornings, just kind of depending. You can find that on Apple, Spotify. If anybody wants to listen to it and any place other than those 2 places, let us know. That's just most where everyone consumes our content, but we're willing to put on any other platforms if we need to. We also track all of our bets on it's at Flag Hunting Pod on the Action Network. So that way, if we do anything live, it's going to be a push notification right to your phone. You can join it with us. Nice. Then obviously we're on Twitter at Flag_Hunting, where you can find our full slips. You can find our live editions there as well. So yeah, and then you can find me on various shows. So like I'm here tonight. I was with Through the Gears with Mark last night, so that'll drop on Friday, and then next week I'm actually going on Laying Coin. So just everywhere in these next 2 weeks.
Hell yeah!
So Seth wasn't that far off when he mistook for Laying Coin a minute ago.
Yeah,
right?
And I will say too, man, like you guys, if there's someone to get notified about when they're getting down on something, it is Chris and Ian. Like you guys are sharks. You're consistently finding like really, really good bets, and every time I don't tail you guys, I'm like, damn, I could have just hit a 40 or 50 to 1 Ryan Preece qualifying. So I appreciate all the knowledge you share with us personally and with the IBT family here on the Backroad every so often as well. Make sure you guys are subscribing to the Laying Coin. Oh my God, sorry. The Flag Hunting podcast. We got Derek in this chat quoting me, keep your head on a fucking swivel. That's the motive. That's what we're going with this weekend. Have a safe.
That'd look really good on a T-shirt. You got the course layout behind it, and you got that in big block letters on the front of it. We can print that out.
Well, we can maybe put it in the merch. Order here in a couple weeks. But yeah, guys, have a fun 4th of July. Like enjoy it. Enjoy the time with family. Kind of cool. We get it on a Tuesday, and like let's celebrate America, man. Like this is a pretty awesome fucking country. Yeah, get yourself a Busch Light Peach. enjoy it, guys. Because like I know we all have our differences, we all believe in different shit, but that's what makes America great, in my opinion, as well. So let's celebrate our differences. Let's come together. Let's enjoy the company, because just a couple years ago we couldn't celebrate this with a bunch of people. Elliot, what do you think?
Yeah, it's very true. Should be a fun holiday weekend. Should be a fun race at the Chicago Street Course. And hey, if you like the chaos factor of this race, good luck with your bets, obviously, this week. But next week we got Atlanta, which races like a good old super speedway now. So we will have yet another dose of chaos for you, this time next Thursday on the Backroad. Thanks for taking the ride with us, and we'll see you again next week.